Can everybody hear me okay? No? I think one of these aren't working very well. I think that one works better. No, one of them is really quiet. So you want to pass that one first.
Push that back, that's the only one long enough. That's why. That's all right.
Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Hi. Thanks again for coming out tonight. This is a great turnout. Councillor Brenner and I were really happy to have all of you here today. Today's presentation is going to be mostly about tree preservation, and we have some wonderful staff here with us from the City of Pickering. And they have brought some bags and a whole bunch of goodies for you. We've got a couple different types of seeds, so please make sure you go over there and get all the information that you need. And take some of those seeds and go home and plant them in your garden in the next couple of weeks. Don't do it today. It's still really cold out. But make sure that you get that done, because a lot of it is going for the endangered species, and like, our butterflies, our bees, and everything else is something that we need to do. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you first to Chantal. And I'm going to let Chantal introduce her team, and then we're going to get started.
I'll just pass it. Is it still on?
Yep, you're on.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chantal Whitaker, and I'm the man.
Oh,
louder. Can you stand up? Sorry. Oh, sure. Okay. Good evening. My name is Chantal Whitaker, and I'm the manager of sustainability and strategic environmental initiatives with the City of Pickering. So our team oversees a lot of the environmental work in the city, farmer events, education outreach, events like Farmers Market, Earth Month events, which I'm here to talk about this evening. We also take care of community gardens, climate change work, and community energy, so a pretty diverse portfolio. But I was happy to come here tonight to talk specifically about the Earth Month activities and some opportunities for you to get involved in them. But before I do, I'll let Ish introduce himself too, and Dion.
Hi everyone, would you like me to stand as well? Hi everyone, hi, my name is Ish Chowdhury. I'm a policy planner too with the City of Pickering, and I've been taking this initiative on with the team at the city to move forward with the some music coming on, but I'll try to see it here. And I'll just say Dion.
I'm Dion Jacobs. I'm with the city. Been there for just over 10 years. I'm the manager of policy and geomatics, and we're part of a corporate municipal working group that's tasked to look at the creation of a new or updated tree protection bylaw in accordance with a direction we received from the council. Nice meeting you.
So that lovely music next door, they do
It
dance
is a
lessons.
calming effect.
Yeah, so if anyone decides, like, if we need to take a quick break or a stretch, maybe we can see if we can get in there, do a quick dance, and then we can come back. Okay? So,
And before we move across,
yep, go ahead, Council.
just to go over what the agenda will be for tonight. So for the first 45 minutes, we're going to focus on the presentations on the tree preservation draft bylaw and on the new, what we call the urban forest piece that is now being developed. Then after our staff present, there's an opportunity for question and answer of our staff. And then once they're finished, then Lisa and myself will continue on with the agenda with a couple of updates as to what's coming over the next couple of months, as well as what to look forward to for the next Ward 1 Town Hall meeting as we continue to try and move around into the community. It is kind of peaceful music, eh? I mean,
I like it.
don't let it put you to sleep. The other thing as well that you should be aware of, a lot of what you're going to hear tonight on the draft bylaw and the urban forest came from a lot of you that are here tonight that have sent in email suggestions about models across GTA. And then our staff ran with those models, and tonight you're going to see and hear how they use the models that you suggested to put some ideas together, and they're continuing to, and I think you also need to know that this is a work in progress, meaning that tonight's input from you to our staff can help them before a final bylaw comes back before Pickering Council. And I think that's important to understand, that this is a work in progress. It's a living document that you are being asked to be part of to help form the outcome. So I'm going to turn it over to staff.
Yep. So what you like and what you don't like about anything that you hear here tonight, please be vocal and let the staff know, because this is how we're going to curb it to exactly to what it is that the residents of Pickering like. And here's Chantel again. You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna talk over the music. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. So before we jump into the tree preservation bylaw, I just wanted to take a quick opportunity to talk about some of the great events Pickering has going on this month. It's Pickering's Earth Month right now. And I recognize so many of you from some of our events over the last few years, so it's really nice. We started 2 weeks ago. We kicked off Earth Month with some activities with our 6 to 12-year-old group. They're making some birdhouses with us. And earlier this week, we had a workshop on invasive species in gardens as well that was well attended. But we still have a couple more workshops. The webinars are virtual. You just register online. We have 2 more coming up next week. One is about gardening with the effects of climate change coming. So, you know, how to garden with less water, more increased heat days, things like that. Picking good species for that. And then we also have another one coming up about planting trees and shrubs. So when you're making those, you know, financial investments in your garden, how to give them the best start possible to help them thrive. We also have some great in-person events coming. So this Saturday, if you're interested, we have a community tree planting event. Just up, it's off of Windville Road. All the details are on the website. But it's from 10 to 12, and it's rain or shine, so I know it's calling for rain, but hopefully not during those hours. It's also a great opportunity, if you know any high school students, for them to come out and get their volunteer hours during that time as well. We already have, I think, over 250 people registered to come out to the tree plantings, so it should be a great turnout. We also do litter cleanup as part of that event as well. And then all month long, we're doing something called the Litter and Plastics Challenge. So we encourage schools and businesses and residents and neighborhood associations, sports teams to come out and choose their section of the neighborhood or community and do a litter cleanup. And the city will provide you with bags and gloves to help support that. And if there's a lot of waste at the end, we'll come and pick it up so that you're not having to deal with the bags as well. So we've already had a fair amount of groups already register for that. So if that's something you're interested in, I hope you connect with us as well. And then new this year, we're doing something called the Prom Boutique. And so we partnered with the Pickering Library, and what that is about, what that is about, we've asked residents to donate their unneeded but still in good quality dresses or suits or suit pants and jackets. They've been dropping them off in the library for the last 2 weeks. And then May 6th, graduates will have the chance to come and shop for free at the library to pick up something for their grad or their prom that they're going to. And so the generosity of the community has just been absolutely overwhelming. There's beautiful, beautiful clothes that have been dropped off, and I know will make some students very, very happy. So if that's something you're interested in, there's more details on the website about the Prom Boutique as well. I wanted to mention, I know it's not for a little while, but the farmers market will be starting up again on June 13th, running for another 17 weeks. So we already have quite a few vendors and new vendors lined up for this year. So it's shaping up to be a great farmers market again. We have the tree planting this weekend. We do quite a few plantings and naturalization projects throughout the year. So we will be promoting those, but I just wanted to mention, if you happen to be thinking about investing in a tree or a shrub for your own backyard, you maybe check out the LEAF program. It is a subsidized tree planting program. The city, along with a number of other municipalities, offer that. There is a brochure on the table if that's something you're interested in. They look at trees and shrubs as well. You can go from the full service program or to the do-it-yourself program. The full service program, an expert from LEAF will come out to your property, do a consultation with you, help to understand your needs and wants. So what is it you're looking for in a tree in your backyard? What type of maintenance would you prefer? How much shade do you want to have? And customize your tree selection to your needs for your property. So it's a really good program opportunity if that's something that you're thinking of doing this year as well. And I think that's about it. I'm sorry if I went over. Is there any questions? I just encourage you to take a look at our website. There's a tremendous amount of information. Our team runs a number of events throughout the year, so there's lots of opportunities to get involved in different ways, depending what you're interested in. Or you can just reach out to us as well.
Is there a specific site that we have to go to, or just the city?
So cityofpickering.ca/sustainable will kind of take you to where all of our stuff is for the most part.
You said you run the farmers markets as well?
Yeah, the Pickering Farmers Market, yes.
Okay, out of curiosity, how many farmers do you have registered at the market this upcoming year?
Yeah, so there's a new one actually just signed up too from the Bowmanville area. So I believe this year there's 5 farmers.
Out of curiosity, how many of them are actually from the geographical area of Pickering?
High Hope is. So there.
Sorry?
High Hope is.
One.
So one.
But is that in Pickering, I hope so?
Yes. They are. Yeah, they're just up Lake Ridge. Yeah, some new ones have already registered, and actually, this year they're doing something. Christy organizes the market, and so she's the one you'll see there every Tuesday. She came up with this concept this year to do pop-up opportunities so that a vendor can come and try the market for just the 1 week to see if it's a fit for their business model as well. So it's great for them, it gives them exposure, but it's also nice to have that continual change as well. Yeah.
So is this market on Saturdays when it's convenient?
No, unfortunately, it's on Tuesdays. I'm sorry. It's really tricky. A lot of the farmers and vendors, you'll see them at other Durham markets as well. So it's based on kind of the city of Pickering took over the farmers market that was many years ago at the Pickering Town Center, and that was the day they had secured, and we sort of had to continue with that one because for availability of the farmers.
I was just gonna say that we have a cleanup while you're talking about like events. There's a neighborhood cleanup in the Sorrow. So if anyone lives on Rosebank Road at the train park on Sunday at 1 p.m. and anyone can just come and we have all the supplies, and it's just a neighborhood cleanup event. So if
That's
anyone's
fantastic.
interested, there's signs all around Lincoln, so you've probably seen that. But just a reminder, Durham, that's this Sunday at 1.
And there's another one, Sunbird Trail is this weekend coming up, which is the second weekend cleanup, and then a third one the following week. And those that are here from the West Shore community or the Fairport Beach community, I understand that your cleanup is scheduled for, is it May the 6th, I believe?
That's correct.
I think it's the 6th.
May the 6th? So there's a-
Rain day is the 7th.
and a rain day.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, smart, rain day.
So if your community has not yet booked something, and I think we've covered up most of them, there's still an opportunity to set up a cleanup day, and as you heard Chantel say, we'll get the supplies to you for that cleanup. But There's no shortage of community groups in Ward 1 doing their part to clean up.
That's it. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chantal. Thank you, everyone, for allowing us the opportunity to come and speak to you today. We're going to have a great dialogue and just give you some information as to what we've been working on. Just to start things off, following consideration of report PLN 1820, this was regarding the infill and replacement housing in established neighborhood study.
Sorry, could you speak a little louder?
Oh,
please?
absolutely.
Thank
Can everyone hear me in the back? Am I coming through? Yeah. Can you hear me now? Is it a bit better? Okay, I'll do my best to. If I stood up, okay, if I stood up.
Yeah, we tried the volume already.
Yeah, Ish, just run with it. Your voice is loud enough.
Is that, yeah, I'll just do that. How about that?
Yeah.
Just use a little bit of bass and I'll just get to you. Can everyone hear me in the back? Yeah, great. So I'll just go with this. So following consideration of report PLN 1820, this was regarding the infill and replacement housing and established neighborhood study. Council directed staff to investigate the implementation of a bylaw for the protection of trees on private property and report back to council. From here, following a high-level investigation work by the staff across multiple jurisdictions and into best practices, bylaws, existing policies in relation to tree protection, staff reported the results back to council. And council then authorized staff to undertake a process to amend the existing tree protection bylaw, bylaw 6108/03 as amended, which would include a public engagement process and report back to council. So staff decided to initiate a public engagement by doing a soft launch. This was a way to create awareness and garner some feedback. The plan would be to allow for a comprehensive engagement, including a stakeholder meeting, a public information center that we had last night, and a number of initiatives such as pop-ups and working in concert with sustainability with seminars and webinars. After the initial public engagement period, staff will analyze the comments and prepare a status report to council. From there, a second PIC will be held at the end of June, providing the public with a draft tree protection bylaw for review and comments. After analyzing the public's comments, a recommendation report will be prepared and submitted with the recommended tree protection bylaw for council for consideration in early September. So with the city's current tree protection bylaw as amended, it contains a schedule which identifies tree protection area, which includes areas such as shorelines, stream corridors, wetlands, and environmentally significant areas. You'll notice this on the left-hand side here. This one right there. And the city's tree protection bylaw, currently, the bylaw screening area cover about 30% of the land area of the city. This leaves about 62% of the city's land area outside of the tree protection bylaw screening area that's not protected. With a great deal of trees being within private properties, the protection of trees becomes important in ensuring that the city is able to sustain and protect its tree canopy. The new tree protection bylaw would look to lay out 2 tree protection areas. Tree protection area A would be associated with environmentally sensitive areas, similar to the schedule in the current tree protection bylaw. Whereas, this tree protection area A would be with regards to trees measuring any trees measuring less than 25 millimeters can be removed, and any tree beyond 25 millimeters would be protected. And then tree protection area B would be all areas outside of tree protection area A. So again, yes. So the darker green would be tree protection area A. Of course, regulating trees that are greater than 25 millimeters. And tree protection area B would be all areas beyond that.
So what you're saying is we're going from a 38% coverage of tree protection to 100% coverage?
Currently, at this moment, the tree protection bylaw just covers 38%. And that's
The proposed one
would be to expand to all of it. Would be to go to all of it, yes. And so when we consider what the benefits are, there are a number of benefits associated with trees and forests, such as reducing winter winds, and in turn, this would help lower energy consumption, stabilizing slopes and natural areas, and providing habitat for animals and wildlife. This on top of improving air quality, removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, lowering temperatures within the city to help reduce the urban heat island effect, decreasing the volume of stormwater runoff, and contributing to a visually pleasing place. Impacts to the tree canopy can be a result of natural age, land clearing for development, climate change, things such as ice storms and windstorms have been knocking trees over, insects and diseases, poor construction and maintenance practices, along with unauthorized tree removals from woodlots. So just as I mentioned earlier, the current tree protection bylaw regulates trees within environmentally sensitive areas, these measuring 25 millimeters, so about the diameter of a loonie, so just really, really small there. And when you have an opportunity, I would highly urge everyone to visit the website at letstalkpickering.ca/trees, or if you come see the boards, we do have a QR code that you're more than happy to come and give a scan. It'll take you right to the website, and there you can get some more information with regards to what the tree bylaw covers and what we're proposing and events that are coming up. And more particularly to the online survey, this is a great opportunity for us to be able to get insight and feedback from you and understand what your thoughts are and what your lived experiences are. Yes.
So if we see somebody cutting trees on their own property, even though it's not your property, who do we call?
Well, at this time,
So, I mean, you know, for enforcement.
for enforcement,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the issue, really. I mean, I see somebody across the street and he's cutting a tree and nobody sees it except me.
Yeah.
What do? I call City Hall bylaw?
Typically, the bylaws are the responsibility of, the bylaw office because they administer the bylaw. But as you've seen, the bylaw only covers a certain area. So it doesn't cover all the trees. Whereas this is now going to address those trees in backyards and front yards. Typically, the trees that were regulated up to this date will be within those creeks or valley lands
Okay.
or features, let's say woodlots. So this is going beyond that now to also address other things.
So Joe, in answer to your question, when the new draft bylaw comes into
Yeah.
effect after the consultation period,
Then-
then it is bylaw's responsibility. So when you call in a complaint, then it would be, bylaw would be able to enforce. It would have a law it can enforce. Right now, there's very little to enforce. As you heard, it's
Yeah,
conservation areas, basically.
right.
And then we'll have fines and protections along
Yeah.
with that, that's
No,
gonna.
I just wanted to clarify that.
That's a super question that Joe asked about protection of trees in our neighborhoods, but I want to add to that. The problem with that is that when I phone the city, I have to identify myself, and I'm worried that I'm going to antagonize my neighbor when I point a finger at him and say, hey, you cut the tree out of that boulevard, you're not allowed to do that. I don't want to start a war, but you asked for identification, am I right, Joe?
You're absolutely right, absolutely right.
I don't want a neighborhood war.
Especially
As
from
we
you.
get to the enforcement piece.
I'm sorry?
As we get to the enforcement piece, Richard, which is tonight, then
Okay.
what we would look at are the protocols. So for example, we get many bylaw complaints where the complainant doesn't want to be identified unless it goes to court, so we protect the identity of that complainant.
Yes, you have to.
The only time, but we'll get into that once we get through this first hurdle.
So possibly we can bring it forward to staff and see if there's a way that we can also maybe possibly, I gotta find about this, is maybe put some kind of like a forum online that people can go to, and it'd be kind of like the way that they have it at the DRPS for the Road Watch, if anyone has ever used DRPS Road Watch before, you go in, you put in all of your information, you put down, what the infraction was or what the car was and the license plate or whatever it is. We could possibly have something like that maybe at the City of Pickering, a portal, so you can go to make sure that your identification, you are not going to ever be known.
Councilor Lisa, I want to add something else to that, and I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat the same thing, but if I see a neighbor, and I have seen it, I'm not going to point a finger, because I'm worried that the neighbor's going to come over and say something to me, and I don't want to start a war in the neighborhood. But your people need to come around and take a look. You see the hole in the front of his property on the boulevard, he shouldn't have done that, and he is destroying trees that we need, as you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is July.
We'll cover that off as we get to enforce.
When you call the bylaw officer, that sometimes the bylaw might be there, but they just look the other way. I live on Rosebank Road. I had a developer move in next door. I phoned about the grading bylaw because you're not allowed to raise the grade more than 10 inches. He raised it 4 feet next to my property, bearing my chain link fence. And the bylaw officer said, wait till the property's developed, it'll look nice. They buried the house in the backyard, and so he could make more of a walkout from his house. And it took me 2 years to control the flooding in my backyard.
Yes, yes.
And I did it by planting trees to suck up the moisture. So that's gone on constantly in my neighborhood, just on Rosebank here. When a developer moves in, the first thing he does is clear cuts the entire property.
And that is something that's why Councillor Brenner and myself, we came forward with this motion, was because a lot of developers were coming in and they were clear cutting, and that's exactly, we wanted to put a stop to that, and that's
And
why
they
we
don't
came.
only clear cut the trees on their property, they
Cut
clear
everything.
cut
Yes.
about, I think I had 6 or 7 30-foot spruces on my property. They cut while I was at work. And the city of Pickering told me, just wait till it's finished, it'll look nice.
The new bylaws that
I'm
is
so
being
sorry
talked
that
about.
The bylaw officer there almost every single day that house was being built next to me.
We'll have another session on enforcement,
Yes.
but tonight what we want to do is get input into drafting a new bylaw that in fact is enforceable. And that's the difference. The other bylaw really was not enforceable because other than wetlands, there was nothing protected. Nothing.
Nothing.
Boulevard trees belong to the city of Pickering. And our boulevard trees would obviously be protected as part of the urban forest component that you're gonna talk about shortly as well. So no resident is allowed to take a tree down that is on city of Pickering property on a boulevard because those boulevard trees were put up
That's right.
by the city of Pickering as part of draft plan agreements, and they belong to the city of Pickering as well. Anyone want to continue? Sorry, Ish.
No,
Ed,
no,
perfect.
Another thing is
Yes.
that when you deal with trees on, quote, your property, I think they measure from the middle of the road until 20 feet or something after the middle of the road, and that tree is the responsibility or ownership of the city, I believe, because I know somebody who had three trees, big trees, two of them were sort of damaged a bit, one was really damaged. They came and cut down one of them, but we couldn't get them to deal with the other ones because they were too far from the center of the road. The other one just happened to be close enough that it was the same tree. So when you take a look at the bylaw, it's not just on city property.
The new bylaw is on private
You
property.
understand that it's the measurement of the tree from the center of the road is the city.
The new bylaw is not going to differentiate. It's trees that are on private property, and that we do not have a bylaw today protecting trees on private property. The new bylaw, which is being drafted and discussed tonight, does deal with private property, and that's a significant difference. Go ahead, Ed.
If a tree is diseased though, and it's on your property, it's your responsibility then to get rid of it.
A diseased tree remains responsibility of the homeowner
Yes.
on private property. A diseased tree on public property remains responsibility of the city of Pickering.
Or at a boulevard.
Ish, sorry.
No, by all means.
Yep.
It's great to have feedback, and that's what we're here for. But yes, just to touch on that as well, what we're currently looking to understand is what would be an appropriate DBH. So DBH, if not everyone's familiar, is diameter at breast height. So 1.5 meters, that's where you measure it. So typically just right at your chest, that's the thickness we would look to. So some of the suggestions we have here in the board right there are either 10 centimeters, 15 centimeters, 20 centimeters, 25 centimeters, or 30 centimeters. And I'd encourage everyone to come take a look, and we have some trunks over there to get a better feel of how thick that really is. And if you have the opportunity to go to the survey, we give that opportunity for you to provide your input and express, well, why do I think this is appropriate for me, and what your thoughts are. And we'd love to get that insight from you.
Okay, so just if I have a large tree, like the big one there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, there was nothing there when I went there, and now they're big.
Right.
And I want to trim or cut back one of those trees for whatever. How do I do that? Do I come to you first and ask for permission? Do I have to get a permit?
Well,
If I want to do that, I didn't say I would, I'm just asking, what do I do? I mean, Richard will be watching me, you know.
well, understand Richard's watching you.
Yeah.
What we can do is we can look forward to that for the next session, because at this point, we're just looking at the overview, but in the next session we're having up, we're going to be speaking to with regards to enforcement, different sides of administration, general provisions, and getting that insight now is valuable to us, so we can get a better feel for what to expect. But that's an excellent question, because it is something that a lot of people have expressed, and it's something we can consider moving forward. But
Yeah, if I can just add something, it also depends on where the tree is located.
Yes,
Because obviously, if it's close to your neighbor,
Yes.
you're gonna cut down a branch.
Yes.
And you're afraid that the branch is gonna fall on the
Yes.
neighbor's roof. Then obviously, it would be good to have a conversation with
Yes.
the neighbor.
Yes.
We cannot get involved between, two neighbors. It becomes
No.
a civil matter, so hopefully there will be good communication to and fro when it comes to cutting down branches. Nothing in the bylaw prevents the pruning of trees. This is really to do with, removing the tree. Yes.
Just a quick question, I know you have this survey here asking for the feedback. Are you able to express the feedback now, or if you want to give it some thought before filling it?
Absolutely.
We drop it off, or is there an online version of
there
this?
is an online version, so you're more than welcome to visit the website at letstalkpickering.ca/trees. Yeah. And I have some brochures up here that everyone's welcome to take a look at. We have postcards there as well that will direct you to the website. And you can take your time and leisure. The survey is going to be open until April 30th, giving everyone an opportunity to review the material, get familiar. Yeah, and then just provide your comments there. So when we look at what where we are right now, just like Chantal mentioned, we're working in tandem with sustainability. So with these webinars and seminars, I'll be there as well, providing insight into the tree planting bylaw. We have 2 more webinars next week with regards to gardening for climate change and with regards to planting trees and shrubs. It'll be online basis, but I'll be there to provide insight as well. We had a public information center last night as well. But beyond that, you're more than welcome to come to the website, take a look. There's a lot of engaging material there that you can review. And we have the survey, which is the greatest component we have to getting your insight. And this is what we want to do. We want to have that dialogue with everyone to understand what your experiences have been and provide us the feedback so we can take that back and really digest it. Beyond that, I'm more than happy to take any questions anyone may have.
Has there been any thought given to the Toronto bylaw protection very strong?
Yeah.
And is there any thought given to save time and thereby money for the city of Pickering to look at a bylaw that would be very effective and simply take and adjust it, so we're saving time and resources by something that's already been in place for several years, we've seen how it's worked, maybe where it hasn't worked, let's just take their stuff, tweak it, and use it for ours. Any thought we can do that process?
Yes, we have been looking at Toronto, and obviously we also cognizant of the fact that Pickering is, there's a unique community here in Pickering, and as much as we would like to look at other jurisdictions, especially those where there's best practices, we also want to tailor a bylaw that is specific to Pickering, recognizing maybe there's certain nuggets and things that we can pull from those bylaws and apply here. But I do not necessarily think that it's always good just to go and take and say, well, the wheel's already been designed, let's just apply here. I think that's why this engagement is very important, to test the pulse of the local community and not just assume certain things before we actually get into the weeds of the bylaw.
Yeah, the city of Toronto has a really good tree protection bylaw, and so does the city of Burlington. And we had asked the staff to make sure that they take a look at their bylaws as well, because yes, it's why reinvent the wheel type thing, right? Yeah, perfect. I'm sorry? City of Vancouver, I haven't seen that one, but we'll take a look at it. Okay.
Is there any system in place that protects trees on your own property? I'm currently in one of the tree protection areas, and we've lost about 12 mature trees due to the erosion of the creek. As the, get much more water with heavy rains, and mature trees, some of them up to 80 feet tall, have fallen. Is there a way, is there a system in place to preserve more, because there's two more coming down?
Yes, so you mentioned rural property.
No, in town,
Oh.
on a ravine.
So I didn't hear that.
In town, on a ravine.
Oh, on a ravine. It's currently supposed to be within the protected area, of tree protection area.
Yes, I'm in the tree protection area.
Yes,
But it's all private property.
it's all private property. Well, yeah,
Where, do you mind saying what neighborhood or what street?
Between Spruce Hill and Fairport. And I will say, if I have to report my neighbors for cutting down trees, I'm getting that call every day.
We go.
I can't always tell where the sound comes from, but this chainsaw's going all summer, every summer.
that's sometimes the problem is,
I don't think
yeah, we
people
do
know
rely on the public to bring certain things to our attention. And sadly, that's the reality of many bylaws. It is more reactive than proactive.
Is there any way to know if somebody has a permit? Because obviously somebody's gone through the process of getting a permit. You don't want bylaws showing up at their door doing, you know, you're cutting down a tree, they're like, yes, here's the arborist doing it for me.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna make a complaint to the city, the first thing that they're gonna do is take a look and make sure and check and see if a permit was issued or not. Maybe you can either give your address to Councilor Brenner or myself, or you can pass it on to Chantel, and maybe we can have somebody from the city, from bylaw, come out and take a look at your private property that does have the protected trees in it, and see if they can come up with a solution. Yeah, any way to save the trees, exactly, perfect.
We've done planting along many creeks to try and stabilize the creeks for,
So, see if there's something they can do. Right.
What is also something we need to look at is our collaboration with other public agencies. Because some of the easements or areas, let's say, is in ownership of the region of Durham, or it could be under TRCA's regulatory area. So
It's under TRCA jurisdiction, but it's still privately owned.
Because it's TRCA jurisdiction, then we even have to consult with TRCA in terms of how to shore up the top of banks, or what can be done with tree planting and so on. The best bet would probably be to connect with sustainability and then be able to liaise with TRCA, because that's the one area that the province did not take away the jurisdiction under Bill 20 yet, okay. But under Bill 23, that remains in effect.
The suite.
So you can give your address to Chantel before she leaves, and she'll look into that for you and see if she can pair you guys together and see what's happening with that. Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Dion, Mish.
Does there have any further questions they'd like to ask? Well, this is why we want to gauge your insights, and just to let everyone know, we are going to have a second public information center in late June, and that's going to go into greater detail with regards to definitions, exemptions, fines, and enforcement. So I know there's a lot of questions that may be geared towards that. Yes.
Will that be in a town hall or a separate event?
It'll be a separate event. It'll be a public information, similar to the one we had last night. We'll have another one of that caliber, and we'll provide the information on the project website as well. So if you keep it here to that, you'll see all the events that we have coming up, and you can be updated there.
If by chance you can't make it to that, Councilor Brenner, myself, we will make sure that we have the information, so we can just let you know at the next open house as well, or town hall, sorry. Go ahead.
Two things. If people see 3 branches that are leaning over electric wires, make sure you make a comment into the community center. They will send an arborist out. If they have to trim a couple of branches, they will.
If it's wires, it's not the city of Pickering, it is a lexicon. Our city of Pickering staff are not allowed to touch any branches over any of the hydro lines. But we would call it into the city. The city will then follow up with a lexicon who has their own arborists and teams to do that. We teamed up during the storm for cleanup, yes, but we couldn't go near the wires.
I don't know whether it was City of Pickering came, but they came and cleared the line. The second one is, there was another tree on the boulevard, right by the boulevard, but it was right by a crosswalk. And two of the branches were covering the crosswalk sign for kids, which is.
That would be City of Pickering, that would be City of Pickering.
Well, they didn't Pickering, we did Pickering, did it the next morning with those branches right away.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, from a safety point of view, if you see anything, report it, so at least they can decide what they're gonna do, who's gonna do what.
The best thing to do is err on the side of caution, put the call into our customer care center or customer care phone number 24/7. You can call them in terms of anytime, day or night, and it'll then go to the respective department. So if it's gotta go to lexicon, they'll send it to a lexicon. If it's gotta go to the region, they're gonna send it to Durham, to My Durham. If it's the city of Pickering, it'll go to our arborist staff up in engineering. So when in doubt, that's the best way to do it, and it'll get to the right place. If you do the reverse, if you do 311, it'll go from Durham region back to the city of Pickering. It'll still get to us. So My Durham or 311, which is Durham region, will send it back in reverse to us, or our customer care will send it to them. Either way, it's going to get to where it has to go.
And just so you know, Lexicon has already started their spring cleanup. They were actually in So Road today, starting up and down on Rosebank. So they've already started clearing all of the branches from the line. So they're in full force right now.
Just out of curiosity, how many bylaw officers are there actually in this city of Pickering?
Not enough.
I know during the pandemic, I was told as a 20-year volunteer that I had to be a bylaw officer, with no insurance and no,
I don't know about who said that, but
Marissa Parkino had told me I had to be a bylaw officer and enforce city of Pickering policies, because there aren't enough bylaw officers to go around. So I'm just curious exactly.
we
how
can get the information. We've actually increased our bylaw enforcement complement parking. We increase it during the summer months, obviously, but we can get you that information. We don't have it tonight, but we'll get it for you.
Thank you.
Very good. When is this going to be, or you're looking to implement the bylaw, the new bylaw?
Well, we hope with everything going according to plan, probably in September, because we're gonna roll out the draft bylaw for comments in June, bring it to the public, get your inputs, then obviously we'll have to make some tweaks based on what we've heard, and then take it back. Firstly, we would take it back probably to executive committee, and the closest date after June typically would be your September executive committee, then for council endorsement, hopefully that same month.
Have you guys considered like a lot management program as well? Because there's a lot of people that would look at a hawthorn tree and say that tree needs to be saved. Meanwhile, it's an invasive species. So I'm just wondering, it's nice to save trees, but are we going to be doing it properly where we're actually thinning out some trees to allow proper species, good species to grow? Is this going to be a component, or is it just let anything grow?
Look, this is probably not a bylaw issue. I think it's more to do with the urban forest management.
Correct. And the invasive trees, if you're down by the waterfront, we are removing invasive vegetation in order to be able to get native vegetation and have that grow. But the urban forest component will address and talk about invasive species. And that's why right now There's a lot of them down, you'll see them where they're working down on the waterfront. And they have to,
Outside of the invasive species that I'm talking about, when you have 10 or 15 oaks growing within a 6-foot radius, you can't keep them all because you're not going to have any viable oaks. So who will be managing the land properly under this bylaw?
it'll be the urban forest component, which is also being done in sync. So there's two,
Yes, Councillor Brennan, if I can just qualify also that statement, is that we did an urban forest management plan back in 2011-ish. And what was supposed to follow was an urban forest management plan or a master plan. That never happened, sadly.
So there is no management plan.
There's no management plan.
that's what's happening now.
That's why staff is now being asked to resurrect that
Okay.
and to bring forward what we're working on in terms of reference, because we need expertise to come in and to do that plan for us. We do not have in-house expertise.
So will the two things we're working on, the plan that we're resurrecting and this new bylaw, will they be in sync or will they be clashing with each other?
I believe that the urban forest management plan will probably go beyond, September, because we need to get consultants, we need to have the money secured for that plan. But at the same time, what is important is that we cannot stop protecting trees.
No, I get that.
And part of that urban forest management plan is going to give us more tools and actions to say, well, how can we collaborate with the community? And it's going to be an educational process to see how can we work together to deal specifically that example that you've given. So I cannot speak, I'm not an arborist, I'm not a landscape architect. All I can say is that there's a lot of actions that would typically come out of the urban forestry plan, and that is one of the things that we will definitely address. But I don't think it will be in time for the finalization.
Thanks.
Sorry, one more question.
Thank you.
So I do currently have buckthorn.
Can't hear you.
I do currently have buckthorn on the property, which I have left because of the tree protection. So I can or I cannot remove buckthorn if it is an invasive species.
Well, there's nothing there's no bylaw in place that regulates the removal of tree on private property. And as much as you want to protect it,
Well, no, it's an invasive.
yeah, but what I mean is we know that there's invasive species that was planted, let's say 20, 30 years, and they were not regarded as invasive species. Now, today they are. And some people still value those trees, even though they are invasive. So,
TRCA is the one actually in our waterfront that has been determining the removal of the invasive species. So going back to your property that you're talking about and the areas that are under the TRCA, the best bet is, again, consult with them. And I think you're going to find that they themselves are encouraging, and I won't speak for them, but they are encouraging the removal, as they did in our waterfront master plan, which is why those invasive trees have to come down, because they're choking and they're destroying our native trees. May not need a permit to remove an invasive tree. But you need to talk to TRCA.
that could be an exemption, and that's something that we can consider as we work on the bylaw, is those exemptions to the bylaw. Yes.
What's the bylaw on trees growing over a public sidewalk? The branches, obviously.
That would have to be referred to our engineering, and our arborists would look at, so it comes down to an issue of safety. So they will assess the safety. Is it blocking the street light, as an example? Is it overhanging so low? When I look at Sunbird Trail, we have some of our boulevard trees now, were fast growing enough that they're too low. So the branches, when you're walking on the sidewalk, you'll hit your head. So our arborist, through our engineering department, would then go out and assess, and then it would be city crews that would trim those trees back to make the sidewalk safe.
So, Councilor Brenner, you're saying I should call the city?
Call customer care, they'll do the referral, you identify the location, where it is,
It's my location.
then they will come out, and if it's a boulevard tree, they will come up and they will look at what's needed to make the sidewalk walking safe.
I'm just wondering if anyone can answer this. Does the city of Pickering, do they just go around and take a look at the streets and then they just automatically do it? Because I have seen the city of Pickering just go like for example, along Twainville and just cut all the ones that are hanging over on the sidewalk, and I'm not sure if anyone called to let them know, or if they just take their own initiative, like Alexicon being out there today, cutting down the trees that are, the branches that are going into the wires. Do we know?
I would assume they have a maintenance program.
They do.
I would think they
But
have a
I
maintenance
cannot
program.
speak on behalf of, the operations department.
Yeah, I've seen them out a couple of times a year clearing the
What usually
branches off
happens
of the
is that-
sidewalks, so.
Our roads teams, we'll call it our ops team, when they're out and about, so they will identify, they'll probably call it in. So let's say we have a team that's doing our boulevards in the areas that we're responsible for. They will notify our engineering. So along with your eyes on the street, our staff are also eyes on the street, where if they identify a risk, they will notify, and it then goes through the same process.
Coupled with the maintenance program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I might just add that, to please be patient when you phone in, because my experience being, and I live in another municipality, is that sometimes they're inundated with these requests. And, ultimately they will come out. It may take longer than you expected sometimes, sadly enough.
But they will prioritize issue of safety, always, and they always do.
I just wanted to know if there was a certain height, because the blue spruce on my property is over 50 years old. And then the city put in the tree between the sidewalk and the street, and the whole thing just doesn't work. Because the tree on closer to the street grows very quickly, and when they cut it, they cut my tree rather than theirs, which we make sure that it's a certain height, that it doesn't, the snow doesn't bother the sidewalk, because I have to have it cleaned within 24 hours, right?
Or you can qualify
That was
the new extended,
That's okay.
Snow program that we have starting, yes.
But thank you very much.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. Your opening comments, you made 2 points. One about the infill, and replacement housing in the seventh neighborhoods, which Mr. Brenner moved the motion in 2016, and it started in 2017. Delegated the council in 2017, 18, 19, 20 come along. We did a petition in Pickering only, took all names from outside of Pickering out of the survey. We submitted it to the city, they accepted it as part of the infill study. And you mentioned the other thing, there was a recommendation to come back in 2021, I believe it was August. Where are we with the trees? And the other part of the infill was hardscaping in the backyard, front yard, which neither one has been addressed yet. So that was in 20, 21, 22, virtually, about tree preservation. So here we are, 7 years later, and without prejudice. Mr. Brenner and I both did our careers in the city of Toronto, Metropolitan Toronto, city of Scarborough, Durham region. And it's incumbent upon senior staff. You have well-paid commissioner or CEO, well-paid directors, and what are they doing? Here we are, 2023, and we're talking about beginning to do something on a Pickering-wide basis.
Paul, probably, rather than the staff tonight,
I
after that,
think you're hearing the frustration.
Paul, rather than our line staff, what we can do is,
I'm
request, no, I was gonna say,
to my comments, I'm talking about senior staff.
no, and that's what I was gonna say. I will link you to our CAO so that you can have, because that's the one who's responsible for the day-to-day operation of all of our departments. So I
That's
will
not my
set up.
point, Maurice, just let me finish my point, please. In any major city, they have a plan. They have 5-year plans, they have 1-year plans. And I know about, I've worked in these major cities and at a fairly relatively important level, did my job. And, you know, senior staff from director on down, where have they been? Hearing all this information coming in, delegations, a major survey, we were the only ones, Fairport Beach did this major survey. Hundreds of signatures. And here we are 7 years later. I'm just getting out my frustration. I'm not picking on anybody or pointing anybody out, but I'm just letting you hear it. And I think Pickering's got to start moving at a quicker pace on all these different important matters.
Well, I think that's why what you're saying needs to be reflected and said to the CAO, who is responsible for the day-to-day operation. And I will link you to Marissa so that you can share that with her and her leadership team. Our teams that are here tonight, they are the legs on the ground delivering. What you're talking about, we need to have that dialogue, and our CAO needs to hear that from you. And I'll make sure that we facilitate a mechanism to do that. Matter of fact, maybe we'll invite a CAO to come to one of our town halls.
Good idea, good idea. There you go.
No, I think you're doing a great job, and like I said, I'm talking in general.
Great job.
You know what, I honestly, I feel your frustration. When I brought this motion forward and I had Councillor Brenner second it, I was hoping that we would have this done before the summer season, so we could save the trees starting from spring into summer. Staff had already, as you know, had this in the works, so they had asked for us to refer it back to them so we could tie it in with Earth Month, which is where we are now. And unfortunately, you know, I might not like that timing. It's just the timing that's happening, but I'm pretty confident that we are going to be able to save as many trees as we can starting in September. So moving forward in the next summer season, I think we're going to be heading into a really good time that we are going to do everything that we possibly can for the trees. It's unfortunate that it's not going to be this summer, though.
It's a little bit of a cheeky question, but is this going to be enough to save the Altona Forest?
Altona Forest itself. Yeah, actually, the Altona Forest fits into a lot of the existing bylaw. And we've already flexed the muscles on the Altona Forest, which bankrupted the Bramalea Company, and I'm proud of being, helping to bankrupt Bramalea back then. And that was only $10 million back then.
Right?
Let's go.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Absolutely good.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question for you. This new bylaw is what related to private property with trees. When, let's say you have a weeping willow, which is over 100 feet high, and it's got branches going in every direction. What are you proposing to do then? City figuring bylaws will come on the property?
Not to do anything.
Respect the tree, telling you which one to cut, which branch. Instead of trimming them off, when you got a huge tree, let's say behind Lisa Watkins' house right now. There's a property, I don't know who owns that property, is that meant for conservation?
No, just, there's actually a lot behind my house, and then it goes down into the TRCA.
But you notice those dead trees are like 100, it's gotta be 150 feet high, but they're dead. And if they actually fall down, they would fall on Rosebank Road.
Yeah. Actually, a lexicon. Yeah. Actually, a lexicon was actually going in there today, and they started pulling some of the trees that were hanging and that were dead. But
So what are you proposing? Well, let's say, there's about 5 or 6 dead huge trees, they're gonna go 550 feet up.
yeah.
And you can actually kill those trees where they were just in Rosebank. They were raising the root level. And what they did, they created a floodplain and water killed the roots of the tree.
Yeah.
So that's my question. The other question is, would your plan now to cover beavers? Because I want to critical tree. So right now, there's a couple of beavers down there doing good business cutting us down.
I don't think I can answer the second
Don't touch the beavers.
In terms of the first question, the current tree bylaw
Can you
exempt.
speak up, please? Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
The current tree bylaw exempt the removal of, let's say, dead trees or that poses a safety risk, from a permit process. Obviously, when we look at the new bylaw, we will look at, maybe a similar approach. Nothing prevents you from cutting back a tree, pruning a tree or branches, but it's more to do the removal of a dead tree. Obviously, it needs to pose a risk. And there's a process typically involved, but that's still something that we are looking into, investigating. How do other municipalities do it? Are we gonna request an arborist to come in to assess the situation? Or isn't it even necessary? Because we know that requires money. If you get a qualified arborist to come and do an assessment. So we do not want to introduce something that's going to unnecessarily be cumbersome or add more money to pay a permit for removal of the tree. So, well, now I need to pay an arborist, for this. So that is part of the things that we are going to extend.
About the beaver, it's a real problem. It's down there, it's doing damage.
Yeah.
I'm in your bylaw, but you guys can already remove the beaver. How would you say it's a native species, you can't kind of.
We do have a wildlife policy that talks about beavers in particular, and it does regulate in terms of when the beavers are found and they're located. It is not the position of the city of Pickering to uproot a beaver, and it's not the position of the city of Pickering in terms of wildlife to endanger it. And we need to find ways of living with nature when we're talking about the environment. And that means coyotes, that means
Birds.
Possums.
Possums, love
It's
possums.
all part of.
That's the land.
Yeah.
So we can have another discussion offline about beavers, but there is a position on beavers by the city of Pickering, which is consistent with wildlife right across the GTA. And we've had that problem up in, I think it's by Glendale. Can't remember the name, Von Willard.
Von Willard.
Von Willard, we've had it there. We've had beaver situation in many areas, but that is part of our wildlife.
Chicken wire, they put wire around the bottom of all the trees.
Yeah, so exactly. There are things that we can do and things that the city will do and TRCA will do to save the trees. But it's very rare that we're going to go out there and,
Ticket the beaver.
well, not only are we not going to ticket it, we're not going to kill it.
The more you keep cutting down the trees, the more you're going to have problems with wildlife because you're destroying their natural habitat. We just got
Exactly.
woods on Rosebank that's been there forever, just north of us. They cut down all the trees, they cut down almost 2 acres of woodland. And where the animals supposed to
And you're
go?
right, Jess, and that's,
You're right.
and that's exactly, it's a whole, it's a chain reaction, which is why the urban forest management plan is so critical, because once you start playing with one thing, you're gonna have a ripple effect.
Yep.
And it brings it out. I mean, we see it all the time. We see the coyotes. We see exactly what happens when you when you clear cut an area and what happens and where the wildlife end up.
The deer.
The deer is another example.
Turkeys,
Turkeys.
they're all over.
Wild turkeys,
Yep.
everything.
Yes, the wild pigs. Go ahead.
Wild pigs.
You mentioned the plan consultants, and is it in Monday's budget?
Yes, it is. It is in the budget. It's budgeted for. It's included. It's not an add-on. And this is something, just to be clear, that should have happened. I cannot account for, and Lisa cannot account for what the council of 2011 did. But we sure as hell can account for what the council today does and what the council does when I've been back on. But the 2011 one, as you heard, the process started and it never finished. It will now finish.
It will finish. We'll
And
make
again,
sure
that concept came from the community, in terms of, hey, it's time to put that back on the table. So it didn't, so that what slipped through then is here today.
Now, this protects, trees just from being cut down, is that correct? Because I know people might not know, if you just raise the grade over a tree roots, you will kill the tree as well. That's a slow way to kill it, but it will kill it. If you raise the grade over a tree roots any more than 3 inches, you'll start to kill that tree. You'll smother the root system because the roots have to feed and breathe from the surface. So I know, I live on Rosebank and I have a huge silver maple, and my neighbor raised the grade in that section about 14 inches, and I lost half of that tree during the ice storm, but it did land on his.
I think a lot of that, a lot,
Karma?
Well, until he threw everything in my yard.
Right?
a lot of that would be probably covered in the urban forest management.
Chantel is making notes on that right now, so be rest assured it will be addressed.
Well, a lot of that's
Yes.
going to be captured in the urban forest management plan.
Yeah.
So that when we're talking managing the urban forest, we're talking about not just protecting the trees from being removed, we're talking about how to keep the trees healthy. So that's where everything's going to come together.
Yeah.
But that's on someone's private property as well, because at that time, I again called the city and they said it was my tree, right? There's no consequence.
But there's best management practices, and we can only, as a city, educate and work with and collaborate.
Yeah.
So there's no enforcement.
Well, if we start going to enforce that, I don't know if we would go to that extent.
I
don't know.
I can't answer that tonight, but I think
Yeah,
our
we'll look
staff
into it.
tonight have, what they've done is presented about the concept of the urban forest management plan, moving forward with a draft bylaw to get your input, engage, which was critical tonight. And I think, Chantel, you've covered off a lot of interesting activities that sustainability has been involved in. And I want to say thank you for coming tonight.
Yes, we can get a big round of applause.
But we still have an agenda ahead of us, so
So if there's no more questions, if anyone wants to take a quick break, get some seeds. If you haven't got your seeds or your bag or any of the information over there on the table as of yet, because our staff, they are leaving. We've kept them here well past the time that we said that we were going to keep them. So thanks again, and we'll resume again in 5 minutes.
So we're going to get started on the next part of the agenda.
Even though it's already 9 o'clock.
So the next part of the agenda is an open agenda, meaning this is your agenda to bring forward things that are important to you, to Lisa and me, so that we can either find way and either respond tonight or get the information and bring it forward on another agenda to get the information back. We also have a few announcements we're going to make by the before the end of the night, update things that are happening. But why don't we turn it over now to you guys?
Yeah.
Because now this is your agenda.
Yeah, we don't want to keep you here too late. It's already 9 o'clock. Just before we get started, did you get over and speak with Chantel because of your eyebrows? Okay. Okay, yes, go ahead. At the back first.
There you go, Joe.
Good.
Great question, because we were just talking about bringing forward something to council to do exactly that, to be able to look at, because we all know that the runoff, especially with all the potential impacts of Bill 23, that if we continue on the course we've been, which means paving over our front lawns for widening driveways, paving over our backyards, for whatever reason, we're going to have a serious problem in terms of not just Frenchman's Bay, not just Lake Ontario, but it's going to be very costly because our storm management system has to address that. So I'm glad you brought that up. Lisa and me were talking about that, and we are going to be bringing that up as a discussion item at council very shortly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd actually had that in the motion, but it seems to have got misplaced. I had it in our tree preservation motion that we did, and it kind of got lost. So we're going to be bringing it forward as a separate piece. Because it was in the neighborhood, what was it called?
It was addressed, it came up in the established neighborhood.
Established
But it's
neighborhoods.
also become a
Yeah.
very serious problem because when we've been getting into intensification and the Government of Ontario policies, which means that they're maximizing, get as many products as they can on lots, which means making it smaller, we're having problems because there's insufficient parking in the intensified areas. One only has to go up into the East Dufferins community off of Zentz and off of William Jackson and take a drive through. And you'll see what happens when you don't have suitable parking. People pave over everything they can to park. So we do need to find a way to address that because we cannot continue the course that we're on because of the ramifications, and it would be very expensive, and it'll be the taxpayer that ends up having to pay to correct stormwater management.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the third meeting we've had.
Yes.
And this is the third time I've asked about these trains coming through Pickering with chemicals in them. Are they with chemicals laden or they're not? And are they allowed to do that? I'm really concerned because they're having so many issues in the States and they're going right through communities and devastating communities. You know, an accident can happen. And,
You answered that already.
no, they didn't answer it.
Yes, he did. He talked about it's a national.
So,
Yeah, so
I'm
they
gonna,
were supposed to find out.
Okay, Lisa's going to share with you, this came up at our last council meeting.
Okay.
So she's going to share with you exactly the information that was given to her. It came up right at council and with staff responding. And it gets into the jurisdiction. So Lisa, why don't you go over that?
yeah, so there were two motions that I was bringing forward at the last council meeting. One had to do with exactly what you're speaking about, any kind of transportation hazardous materials running through the city of Pickering, because with all the train derailments that we have had lately, we want to make sure that if anything happens in Pickering, that we know exactly ahead of time what is coming through. The second one that we were doing had to do with geoengineering or cloud seeding to see exactly what it is that they're spraying in the skies over Pickering. So that motion, hopefully as long as Councillor Brenner will second it for me, that will be coming forward in May. I've already written the motion, it's pretty much done. Now, in response to what you're speaking about, we got a message back from the CAO regarding exactly what you said. So I had asked.
Lisa, I apologize.
Yes.
I didn't hear Joe's question.
Joe's question has to do with transporting by rail.
Hazardous materials.
Any kind of potential hazardous materials and what the potential impact is on the city of Pickering and our residential community. Because
Right.
we have rail lines that come through on Shepherd, Finch, and up into the north. So Lisa's going to answer that question right
Yeah.
now.
So one of the questions I posed to the city at the last council meeting was, what mechanisms are available to receive notifications of transport of hazardous materials through the city of Pickering? The response that I received just in the last day was, there are no mechanisms available to provide information to the public regarding the transport of hazardous materials. However, there are mechanisms of identification in the event of an incident or accident involving dangerous goods. That said, the information is something that only trained individuals would be able to interpret. Please find the attached document that provides more details regarding how products are identified, shipped, and dealt with in the event of an accident or a release.
So,
Second question was,
hold on, before you get to the
Yeah.
second, you're talking about the
Geo-seeding.
geo?
That's the
no,
second.
Oh, sorry.
this is the hazardous materials on railways is what I'm speaking of right now. Second question was, can the city minimize the collection of data during online consultation? Oh, sorry, no, that's for another thing.
So regarding that, I really don't have a lot of information with that. I do understand it is Transport Canada that we really need to speak to. So in my motion that I will also be bringing forward next week, next month, as long as I have the seconder, is that we are going to ask the City of Pickering to speak to Transport Canada and speak to the ministers for the environment for one, and also find out if we can figure out what kind of hazardous
If we
materials
can get a
come through.
clear answer, then if something happens, we can sue. We have somebody.
Joe, what the
we can
problem
sue.
is federally,
Yes.
they are not prepared to give us that
I know,
information.
I know,
So
but that's why we
the
keep
motion will be asking them to change their protocols. We have the response to
Yes.
emergency response, that we do have. But what we are not getting and don't are privy to is what is being transported. And the reason, for example, the rail system
Yeah.
across Canada, they
I
could be putting anything in
I know,
anything
I
and
know,
moving
but
across, and they're not going to tell us.
But it is a little scary.
It is.
It is a little scary, and and we're in a unique place, Pickering. We've got a nuclear power plant. We've got an old garbage dump that's been sitting there that's throwing methane gas, and then we got trains coming through with chemicals in it. I'm just saying, it's a precarious situation, and that's the last thing. I just want some kind of answer to say, hey, you know what? We're going to try not to put them through here. Maybe put them further up where there's fewer people. But I see the tracks. It's just 50 yards from my house, off Shepherd. They go by and they're full. Those things. I know they're full.
We're going to try and get Transport Canada to change their protocol.
Yes.
Anyway,
But
that's all I can
as
do.
an upper tier, we can't make them.
I know. No, I know that.
All we
I know
can do
that.
is ask,
Keep
get
asking.
we can ask the city
I just want you to keep
involve
that on
them.
the
That's all we
agenda,
can
that's
do.
all.
But it's on the agenda. I'm
all.
keeping up with this one for you,
I
absolutely.
just pray we
I
never have
think
an
one of
accident.
the regulations is they can't have reactive chemicals side by side in the tankers. They have to be side.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Well, that's comforting
There
to
was-
know that they
go
won't
to
be
this
side by side.
There were a bunch of hands that were up. Hold on,
Yeah.
we'll get to you.
Yeah, there was one over here at the front.
Anthony, you had your hand up. Carol, you had your hand up. Oh, sorry, Anthony,
Okay.
I know I saw your hand go up.
Okay.
I had the question in the first place, so there's no point in me answering the question because I didn't know what it was.
Oh. Got you there.
My question is understandable, right? So we have, our taxes are going up slightly greater than the rate of inflation. And that was a great question you asked Grace at the executive meeting, which was, is growth essentially gain for growth? And now we're seeing with Bill 23, we're taking our investment in capital infrastructure, which is the casino revenues, to supplement now the shortfall of 23 predominantly. So has the city done a cost-benefit analysis of if we blocked and unanimously said no to any sprawling development here, especially residential development here in the city, and if it would be a benefit to us to unanimously say no to sprawling development?
Simple answer. In theory, I agree with you because I love a good fight. In reality, let me tell you what will happen. The province of Ontario, through their legislation, they will do what they did in Seton. And you need to understand the history of Seton. This province of Ontario, when they did a land swap for the Oak Ridges Moraine, swapped the stuff from the moraine and said, hey, developers, if we got land for you, you save the moraine, give it to us, so we can then pave it later, like it's happening. They didn't say it back then, though. But so you had the moraine, they go, we've got land, provincial lands in Seton. Province then legislated, forced Seton onto the city of Pickering. Not only did they force it, they took away our planning rights to do a master plan. So everything you see was ordered by the province of Ontario. So Anthony, what I'm getting at is right now, we still have some control. We say no, it really isn't going to matter. They will take the control and use the power that is in the legislation and the new amended legislation that we just saw, by the way, and they will do it with or without us.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So I don't disagree with you. I'd love a good fight like that. I mean, we all thought about, hey, what if we all say no to them and we just refuse? What are they gonna do? The answer is they're gonna still do it.
And the answer to your question.
You would have to.
Good question. You asked, does growth pay for growth? Do you believe right now growth is paying for growth?
No.
Not at all.
Before, we were lacking, we maybe had 60%, 40% not paid for. It's a lot worse now with the new legislation. And there's a facilitator that's been hired by the province of Ontario to work with the city of Pickering, to work with Durham Region, in terms of what those costs are going to be for capital infrastructure, and also the impact for operating. Because remember, for every capital infrastructure we build, we still have to operate to service. And the road ahead is not a good road by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Oh,
Yep, your turn.
first of all, I gotta preface this by saying I'm an old person, so therefore bear with me, okay? I haven't been on.
And how old is old? This kid.
He's older than me. I took a look at the budget, and I'm not an accountant. I don't know, I know how to spend money. I don't know how to save money.
That's for
okay,
sure.
I took a look at the budget, and I thought, I can't understand this. And then I focused on an area that I could understand. And here's where I want to ask you, because my question says, if I see a little problem here, does that mean there's a bigger problem that everybody doesn't realize? Here's the question. You have been allotted $15,000 for computers. Each counselor, that's $105,000 for computers. I went to my engineer brother-in-law, he says the most that you would spend is about $1,200. That's all you would need. So why are you getting $12,000 or $13,000 more? The point of my question is, if there is waste in an area like that, is there waste in other areas like that? And that worries me, because I look at my taxes, and I'm not going to go on for long, but I'm going to say, I look at my taxes, and when I complain about the tax, well, you know, we don't have any corporations that we can use to supplement the tax. Okay, so that just means I'm getting all kinds of BS.
Okay, so let me give you an answer as to
come
why.
back to the computer question.
That's an easy,
Justify
actually,
that.
that's a
I'm
real
not here to
easy
answer
one.
that.
Everybody's
The
seen
floor is
these?
yours.
Everybody's seen these?
Yeah.
These cell phones, smartphones?
$15,000.
Members of council, when they get elected, do not come equipped. For example, councilors utilize and need iPads. Why do they need an iPad? Because to do their job and to be able to access the agendas remotely. No, you asked a question, I'm gonna tell you straight out.
Yeah.
So,
Don't give me BS.
there's no bullshit
Let
here.
him finish, let him finish.
Richard, you asked a question,
Let him
no
finish.
bullshit, direct answer.
Yes.
There are many members of council, when they come on board, they don't have the capacity in terms of an iPad. You don't have a proper iPad, you're not going to be doing much virtually when you're able to do virtual. Secondly, to receive emails. And I'll give you Councillor Robinson as an example. It took a long time for Councillor Robinson to get the right equipment to get the emails, because the emails are encrypted on our server system. So we need iPads that can access not just Apple, but they also have to access the Microsoft platforms
Bless you.
as well.
My email was down for weeks.
So to do their jobs, these are tools. It's not just a computer. It is not just a computer. Plus, the other thing that maybe you're not aware of is, the assumption is that when you get elected to office, they give you all the equipment. No, they don't. Every department in the city of Pickering is a chargeback. So, Councillor Robinson needed a computer when she's in the office.
Yeah, I
So
can't sit there
the
and
councillor
have
has the
my hands-
option of going through the city, And it's not that it's not $1,200. Let me tell you, some councillors operate using Macs, an iMac or a Mac computer, because that's what they're comfortable with. I don't know the last time anyone has gone to an Apple to get an Apple, and it isn't about a government, trust me. If you need, so by the time when you're finished, well,
Finish.
by the time you're finished, you need an iPad that can access properly. You need the iPad that's got to have the software and the hardware. You need your smartphone to be able to respond and do your job when people are looking to get a hold of you.
Keyboards.
Keyboards. You need your
Printers.
I don't even have a printer yet.
Some of them have to have printers because when they're operating remotely, for example, a regional councillor, we do not get printed agendas. We get e-agendas. So for us, we then print off our agendas, some of the summaries so that we have something to work from. And then we are also expected, by the way, all of the regional agendas are electronic. The platform that they requires not just an older iPad. Hey, I had an older iPad. Mine's older than Lisa's iPad. But it wouldn't do eScribe. eScribe was necessary in order to do our jobs to access agendas. As more and more of us go paperless, and that's going to happen, these are all tools that are necessary. It didn't take long to realize by the time the costs went up, and the costs all went up during COVID, and they remained up for buying technology. It's just not cheap anymore. And it's also over 4 years, by the way.
Councilor Maurice, did I say you should not have?
Nope, you wanted an explanation, so that's what I wanted to give you.
What I'm saying is, the city they don't buy one computer, they buy 15, 20,
This
30.
is not.
The city's doing that. They can get, what's the county word for that, when you buy in bulk like that? It's cheaper.
Bulk.
You have staff that can do the software. You can buy equipment
Richard,
in bulk.
some
All that-
equipment.
My point, let me make my point. My point is, I believe you're wasting money. Not you personally, but the city is. And if you're wasting money in that area, then what's to say you're not wasting a lot more money in other areas?
Here's the good thing about democracy. We get to agree to disagree. I do not believe the communicating tools with our constituents in doing my job, or Lisa doing her job.
I didn't deny you that.
Without the tools, you can't respond. And that's the difference, Richard. In the old days, you're right. But these computers that you're talking about, I don't know when the last time you bought anything from Apple, but let me tell you, Apple doesn't discount in bulk for anybody.
Yeah, you're missing the point. That's right. I'm trying to point something out to you. Councilor Maurice, you're absolutely right about the need for.
We raised it
Wait a
because
minute,
they didn't have enough money.
I didn't interrupt you. I'm waiting for you to catch your breath. Okay, some more air. You people need the equipment, and you need modern equipment, but the city is buying equipment, and they're not gonna go to, like me, going to Best Buy and say, oh, give me a computer at $15,000, I'll buy, okay, it's okay. The city can deal, the city can negotiate, and if this is an area that you're telling me is good negotiation, then I give up.
Richard,
I'm in the wrong city.
I wish the suppliers were negotiating. They're not. They're not negotiating. That's the problem.
You don't expect me to believe that.
Well,
I can go negotiate, and I can say, I'll pay you cash. I just did the other day when somebody fixed my car, and I said, I'll pay you cash, and he gave me $20 off.
I don't think you're gonna find the
So
city of
the
Pickering
city-
paying cash to get $20 off.
You know, wait a minute. The point that I'm trying to make is you gotta go to bat for us, for the citizens. And I don't feel like you are going to bat for us. I think that you are doing things that are a waste, that are.
The area, Richard, the area you identified, I have to disagree. I'm sure there's other areas that we agree on, but it was increased from 10 to 15 because the new members of council were not able to get that equipment. I had equipment. I brought it with me for my last term. I was fine. I have my phone.
I understand.
They didn't have that. They did not have that. And I can tell you, and in fairness to my colleague, how many times my colleague was attacked for not responding to people when she couldn't because she didn't have the tools.
Councilor Maurice, you're skirting around the issue. The point is, I'm showing you that I don't believe you are spending the appropriate amount of money. I think you're overspending. And if you're overspending in this little area, and you see, it makes sense. It makes sense that the city can negotiate. The city can say, we're buying 30 computers. You got to give us a better deal. The city's, wait a minute. The city's got to be able to do that. If they can't, then what the hell are you guys doing? You are business people, and you should be able to do this stuff. Because if you save money in an area like that, then you're going to save money in other areas. And I don't believe you're doing that. I'm uncomfortable with this stuff. Your turn.
I'm not even responding, Richard. I want to give everybody else an opportunity to respond. I'm sure that there's places to have savings in the city of Pickering. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just disagree with you on that one item. As a matter of fact, I personally requested that increase for my colleagues to give them a fighting chance. It was my responsibility to mentor and make sure every new member of council that came on board had a fighting chance to be the best they could. I went to finance and said, my colleagues can't get the same break that I can break because I can bring my stuff from last term over. They couldn't.
Just imagine what you're saying. You're saying 7 councilors. Can I make one more point? Yes, I hear you.
Richard, I'm happy to talk to you offline on it, okay? But I think, as the gentleman said, we need to.
Richard is going to use a computer that he bought God's gift.
Thank you. You're right.
Next question.
Okay.
It's $105,000 you're spending on 70 computers.
Well, we're actually not unless they're purchased, and you don't get to spend the money if you can't. You have to substantiate. They're not only that; those computers belong to the city of Pickering. Every piece of equipment they buy doesn't belong to us. It belongs back to the city and goes to the next councilors.
Next question.
Okay.
You said in your meeting that they went to the Ontario
Land Tribunal, LLT.
Do you have any outcome on that? There's 7 properties, one of them being one of them, so they didn't put the proposal in.
It's still in case conference with the tribunal. They've taken the official plan to the tribunal. So that's what they have appealed, the official plan amendment, which was, I think, OPA 38? 38.
Yeah.
So nothing has been settled, and the direction that we are taking is we are defending the position that we took, which gives us the right to limit heights, which gives us the right to protect businesses. Nothing has changed, and we'll go to battle. We're hiring the necessary resources. So that is the direction. We're going full speed ahead, but it's the tribunal that is driving it. So there's no change other than there was a case conference, and that's all we're at right now. No.
Not as yet. Go ahead. Yeah, Jim? Jim?
That's okay. I just wanted to buy the computers that you guys have access to now. You would have received an email from Ms. Castle recently that was forwarded through me. There was some glitch and wasn't received properly, but you guys should have received it on a pricing. So if we have 2/3 of the greenbelt that has been pulled out of the greenbelt sitting in the city of Pickering, the municipality of Pickering.
Yep.
Under 23, Bill 23, which is now passed, that means the city of Pickering could be theoretically, as imposed in that letter, on the hook for potential infrastructure. Have we got an idea yet? Has the minister said, and I think we had a conversation, Reese, about some monies potentially coming to help offset the city of Pickering's cost? Because if my numbers are anywhere close, we're going to be in debt in the tune of $1 billion, the city of Pickering. That 170 acres priced out from the city of Barrie and Innisfil, using the same ground cost that they're paying for our infrastructure in the ground, was just under $30 million for 170 acres. If that's what we have to pay for, have you discussed this yet at the board, at the city?
The answer is yes, and what I can tell you is that right now there is a provincial facilitator that has been appointed by the province of Ontario.
Okay.
Our legal team is working with the facilitator and the legal team from the development side of it.
Right.
And that's exactly what they are dealing with. It has to come back to us once to ratify, once they reach, but the goal is, basically our position is, growth must pay for growth.
Right. The way 23 states right now, if I was a developer, and I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here, I would put my cheap income properties that I'm going to get the infrastructure paid for at the back of the lot. So therefore.
But Jim,
Service all of it before
Jim,
then.
we're looking at it, the whole thing as one. So
No, I know, that's what I'm saying, because they're gonna say, you don't have to do this, and then the big, the mansions, you don't have to pay for, but if the infrastructure's in to get to B, they're just gonna tie into it. Can we make this public, more than it is, so people in the city of Pickering actually knows the potential costs that are coming down?
until the legal side of it is dealt with between the city, the developer, and the facilitator, we can't. Because if we do, then we have breached the confidentiality that is required for litigation and legal. So we can't. All I can tell you is that anything that comes has to come through us. We're not even getting the information right now right now it's lawyer, facilitator, that's it. We're not getting information. We won't get it until they arrive at something to come to us, and then any ratification does get ratified by us and gets ratified in the public realm.
That
So-
was our memo.
I wish I could tell you something
Yeah.
different, but I can't, Jim.
There's been no feedback by the Minister of Housing about any offsetting any of these costs yet?
Right now, what the Minister of Housing and the ministry's position is that the two sides are now dealing through their legal representatives, and our position is full cost recovery, not at the taxpayer's expense. Nothing changes.
Thank you.
I have a question. It's my understanding that the city council recently voted on the airport once again.
No, we didn't. It was deferred.
It was
There
deferred until this Monday's meeting.
There was a motion, and that was a motion by Councillor Nagy and Councillor Cook. And it was deferred to enable some of the new members of council to get more information before they could make a decision. So it was deferred to come back April the 24th. What's happened since April the 24th, the federal government has now announced this final once and for all GTA-wide, whatever they're doing in Ontario, study of air traffic to take a look at the feasibility for airports all over Ontario. So what they're looking at is the entire system. The minister has been very, very clear that there is no immediate I guess any immediate consideration for an airport in Pickering. That's not even on the table. Secondly, for the first time, we've heard them acknowledge that this will be the first time that it is very possible that the outcome will be that there will not be an airport in Pickering. So that's where that's at right now. So the motion comes back the way, April
Monday
the 24th, Monday night. Within that motion there's three important operatives. The first one is tied to a position on the airport. So that becomes a big question mark now that we know what's taking place. Second operative is that there shall be no more money spent by the city of Pickering to promote an airport.
To promote it.
That remains on the table for discussion and vote Monday night. The third one is to continue to support a high-frequency rail system, which is a position of a passenger rail system, which would have a stop in Green River. A passenger rail system, high frequency, is seen to be the transportation network of the future, which is certainly cleaner and different than using planes. So that is all on Monday night's agenda.
Yes, it will be historic.
And are the residents of Pickering ever going to have any voice other than through council on this? Because
Well, the answer is, we don't have a voice. We only have a voice on spending money that we're gonna put an end to.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make, Councillor, is that the City of Pickering Council voted in favour of an airport to be here, and they actually promoted an airport to be here at Pickering, and never consulted the residents of Pickering about that. At a minimum, this should have been a referendum within Pickering.
Oh, I don't disagree with you.
Agreed.
Hey, I don't disagree with you. That they're in fact, the previous mayor promoted an aerotropolis. Don't get me started. An aerotropolis. Money was spent to promote an aerotropolis.
Actually, last month, that was still playing at.
It was still
at City
playing
Hall.
as our
You
marketing
walked in,
strategy.
You could still
So
see it there.
we hear exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
So the way it sits right now is that we believe, and I could say me, we, or I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm sure they will all get a chance to speak on Monday night on it, that, and I think we have all heard through social media, the public does not want to see taxpayers' money being used to promote an airport in the city of Pickering that may never happen. So don't disagree with you at all. But the question now is, what do the people of Pickering want? It's well beyond that now, because this decision will be made by Transport Canada one way or another, and it will likely be the end to an airport in Pickering, and it will likely end up determining how the lands will be disposed in Rome once and for all, whether it's part of an expansion to the Rouge National Park, or whether it's employment lands that are part of our innovation corridor. So you are very correct. The Aerotropolis was somebody else's vision. There was no motion on an Aerotropolis. The other thing also to also put into perspective, the only resolution that was ever in support of an airport was not, it was conditional, and it was to two things. One was a suitable business case that never happened.
Never got the business.
Second, it was tied to a bid that somebody had again. Oh, we're going to get Amazon up there, so we need an airport. It was tied to an Amazon bid that never materialized. So, yes, was there a position of council? Yeah, there was, but there was a loophole in that, and I know because I wrote the amendment that put the loophole in, and one was business case, subject to, never happened. Secondly, Amazon never materialized. There is, so any support for an airport, as far as I'm concerned, is nil and void because there is no business case, never has been, and there is no Amazon that requires an airport to move goods in and out.
I want to ask a question to Lisa, because the last 2 meetings ago, she said she wanted more information.
Yes.
Regarding, did you acquire all this new information?
I've had lots of information.
So on Monday-
I've met with different
So on
people,
Monday,
I've met
we're
with
gonna
different
see you vote
groups.
accordingly.
Monday, you will see me vote.
Oh, that's all I'm asking. So you've acquired.
Accordingly or not, I don't know. It's up
I
to.
just
You
want
said
to
a
make sure.
loophole, Joe, you didn't catch. I didn't say accordingly.
It's
I
here
just want to say
accordingly, but I
that
will
she's
be
acquired
voting.
all the information.
Yeah,
That's all.
there's just one more thing that I have to do, but yes, I've been out, I've had meetings, I've been really researching a lot of this, so.
Okay.
That was the only thing I want to do, because if you've seen the way that I've been voting on council, when I don't have the answers and the questions, I vote against it. A lot of times it's been a 6-1 vote.
But you've got them now.
And I have been doing all of my work, and I've been spending a lot of time on this as of late, so yes. And for your question with the residents having an input, I don't know if you have sent me an email or not, or if you've been a delegate at one of these meetings. I'm sure you could probably be a delegate on Monday night,
still have
even if you
time.
would like to. So anybody here who wants to be a delegate and get up and speak about the airport, please, I welcome all of you to come up and speak. We'll ask questions, we'll have a grand old time, because it's obviously going to be, like a day that's going to go down in history of Pickering.
Matter
for
of
sure.
fact,
No matter
it's-
which way we vote, is putting an end to something, to an argument that has been going on for 51 years at the city level. The federal government can still come in and do whatever they want. We know that, but at least at the city of Pickering, we can put something to bed that has been going on for 51 years. So if you'd like to be a delegate, please. If not, then please send emails. We've probably got over 200, 300 emails just in the last few weeks.
And the electronic agenda, just so you know, we don't get our agendas any sooner than you get yours.
No.
The electronic agenda came out today. It was posted. I've posted it on social media. I got it. When you've got it, you can still contact the clerk and ask to be a delegation, and you will still be enabled to be a delegation.
Go ahead.
It's Mom.
Yes, yep, no, it's you.
This has got nothing to do with the airport.
Doesn't have to be, this is
No.
your meeting.
And I'm asking on behalf of somebody who is unable to be here. There's been comments made in past meetings. This is to do with Greenbelt and trying to take lands from there.
Yeah.
There's been comments made that there is available land in Pickering for additional housing that we don't have to take from the Greenbelt. If someone is interested in finding out, well, where are these supported lands that could be used for housing, how does one go about finding this information?
Well, there's a lot of land still in Seton that still hasn't been developed.
Plus, the best document, and as much as that I don't agree with the Envision Durham
Yes.
document, the best document that tells you the areas that are suitable for development, residential, to meet our target, and bear in mind that the city of Pickering can achieve its 13,000 projected target without the Greenbelt.
Without.
We've already said that.
Yeah.
Durham Region has already said that. If you go on Envision Durham, regardless of the fact that I don't like the option they picked, which was the hybrid 2B option, the fact is that the Envision Durham shows Pickering, it shows the maps, and it shows the areas, in fact, that are development and what we call greenfields. Greenfield or brownfield development greenfield does not mean greenbelt. So when you go on Envision Durham, you can actually see where development can take place and potential development. Also bear in mind that we have intensification along the Kingston Road corridor. That is also factored into projected growth of the 13,000. So when you begin to look at it, and you look at, we haven't built out Seton yet, we haven't even gotten into phase 2 of Seton.
Not to mention by the town center.
Town
Condos
center,
going up
city
to the town
center.
City center.
But that information is definitely available in Envision Durham.
Yeah.
And our position has been clear that we can achieve 13,000, the pledge that was required by the province of Ontario without the Greenbelt.
We'll surpass that 13,000 without even going into the green belt.
Correct.
Yes. Go ahead, Jim.
No, I seen a couple of hands, but I read that you were making a decision, and due diligence is important, Lisa, unquestionable. However, I'll just give you a funny little thing. Kenevio Chizu, past member of parliament,
Yes.
was sitting in Ottawa, and I happened to be across the table from us, a conservative situation. It's kind of funny because he was boasting about how he's going to get this airport here. Now, I wasn't a fan of Chizu, but anyway, I kind of laughed because he had a friend from Lufthansa sitting there and talking about how, oh yes, we're going to do this, and he asked my friend. And the friend said, where? And he said, Pickering. And there was a bit of talk, and I said, do you realize where Pickering is? So he goes, well, Lufthansa's not going to be throwing in two passenger aviation planes that close together. It's not worth our money. Anyone who understands flight, and I've got people in this community that understands flight, this is going to only be a cargo airport. That's what it's going to be.
And if we want
right.
early morning flights or late nights for cash on demand products, welcome to Pickering. It won't be this quick ride to Cuba.
That's right.
I know.
You know what the crazy thing is?
Hamilton's coming.
I had this 3 years.
45 years. And it's
This
not
is
gonna
being
happen.
approved for
It's,
years.
you really want to
This
have
is weird.
another Mirabelle, put it in Pickering. It's not
Station.
logical, it doesn't make sense, it's.
Anyway,
No.
just a kind of funny thing to put in your record, because if someone says travel's coming, let's hope
Yeah.
not.
Well, I have had no conversation with Mr. Chizu at all regarding having an airport here.
No, it's funny because that's.
But that is funny.
He's logging on the picture.
Yeah.
There was, I'm trying to
Got
see,
it.
who else had their hand up? Sorry.
Anthony did first.
No,
Anthony.
oh, he changed seat when he had his hand up over there.
Yes,
Okay.
he had his hand
That's
up
good,
first.
that's smooth, I like
And
that.
then we'll go to you. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, mine is a pretty simple question. So first off, thanks for staying till 9:45 at night. I know it's a rainy night. And I know, Golden Acre big supporters of the student out, South here. The Easter Day Parade was excellent, and I feel that the Legion does a great job of hosting the parade every year. But now the city is obviously gonna take it over next year. Do you guys believe that's a great thing, or are you opposed to it? What's the ramifications involved with the city coming and taking it?
Great question.
Yep, that's a good question.
Just also to make sure that it's clear, the city of Pickering did not go to the Legion and say, we're taking over the parade.
No.
The Legion came to Pickering and said, this is our last year. We don't have the resources to continue to do it. We all know what happened when the volunteer sector walked away and said, we don't have the resources to do the Santa Claus parade. There was none.
Yeah.
So the position we then took was
And
that the
we-
city of Pickering,
And Councilor Brenner and I, we took this position very, very quickly as soon as we
and
got
said that
elected.
we wanted the city of Pickering, we
Yeah.
gave direction for the city of Pickering to then become the catalyst to ensure that we do have these parades. So it is now the responsibility of the city of Pickering to make it happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean volunteers won't be involved, or service clubs, or community groups. It just means we don't want to see Scrooge take away another Santa Claus parade in the city of Pickering.
Not at all.
And the same
Not
thing with
at
the
all.
Easter parade.
Yeah.
So our goal is to make sure it continues. And so that's what happens. So the city and council are committed to make sure that these parades that are so important in the city of Pickering continue.
It was very disappointing not having a Santa Claus parade this year, and we want to make sure that never ever happens again. And regarding the Easter parade,
Same thing.
we've already asked Myrna. We said, Myrna, you know what? We're gonna ask for your help next year. You know, is there anything you can do and bring us your volunteers and help us, because they have been doing such an amazing job for years and years and years. I mean, it's going to be hard for us to do it on our own. So we look forward to the support of Local 606 to help us get through this. Absolutely.
So think of the city as a facilitator, as a catalyst to make sure it happens. Before, the catalyst was the service clubs. And we, like I said, Santa Claus parade, it spoke for itself what happened.
Oliver had a question.
Yeah, actually, I have two
Sorry.
questions.
Yeah.
Maybe one for each of you. So Maurice, you're talking about the need for the green space, and maybe there isn't a need for it to meet the housing requirements. Can you maybe make a comment or elucidate a little bit on how much land is in the hands of developers that they're just sort of sitting on and not using? Because I've heard that there's percentages.
Are you talking about in the Greenbelt?
No, outside of the green belt, but they currently have. I mean, I've heard things, and I just educate me.
The White Belt,
Yes.
which is Northeast Pickering,
Right.
is an example. The White Belt is all owned by developers, and they call that the community of Varane. I don't know the exact number of acres, but I can tell you that it has the potential of creating a population that is probably greater than Seton.
7,000 to 9,000 acres.
How many?
I think it's between 7,000 and 9,000 acres.
So it's big.
It's big.
So you've got the White Belt, which is Northeast Pickering, just sitting there, and they're foaming at the mouth trying to get it. Then you've got the Green Belt, Well, they are.
They are,
You
yeah.
heard it?
Yeah.
They are. They want to
It's
get it.
not a lie.
That's not a lie.
It's not a lie.
Then you've got the Greenbelt. Now, what's happening is there is only so much infrastructure to go on. There is no secret. We do not have the capacity with our water. We do not have our sewer sanitary capacity. So you put everything else aside. Now the fight is, in a sense, you've got two development groups. A white belt group saying, pick me, pick me. A green belt group saying, pick me, pick me. So not only do we have a situation of conflict between environment, community, Greenbelt, Envision Durham, it's now a fight over who's getting the infrastructure. The town of Whitby has been very clear. They were prepared to service for a hospital that would have allowed the service. So for the Northeast Pickering to be serviced, they need to go through North Whitby. Whitby is saying, this ain't happening. You're not coming through Pickering to service, you're not coming through Whitby to service Northeast Pickering. Because they're pushing back because their servicing was always going to be tied to their new hospital. So there's a lot at play, and there's a lot of inner conflict at play right now between developers, and there's only so much capacity that's out there. And unfortunately, the way it sits right now, we can't even finish Seton Phase 2 without hitting capacity. So it's a very complex and a very serious problem. And so where you have a lot of land like what you're talking about in Northeast Pickering Whitebelt, there's only so much servicing that can happen. And then you've got to start widening pipes, twinning pipes, pumping stations, booster stations, and the list goes on and on and on.
And we already have 9 new condos going up at City Center. You know, all of that is.
We don't even have the capacity for our own intensification on Kingston Road.
On Kingston Road, it's.
So the second question I had is, you guys mentioned some 300 emails that have come commenting on the airport.
Yes.
What's the general feeling on that? Is it 50-50? Is it 90% against? Because I've only ever heard a small handful of people have been really for the airport. What are you hearing in the?
I'm hearing the same. I'm hearing a smaller percentage of people.
Yeah. What's the breakdown roughly?
I'm going to just guess, to be honest, Oliver.
Yeah.
I would have to say that from what I have seen come through, I would say at least 70% plus. What's happened is that you have new people moving into a community that don't know the history. And I think Jim was very correct, and we've heard that from many, many people. They don't know the history. So they believe that an airport is the great savior that is going to lower our property taxes. So they move in thinking, oh, this is great, my taxes are going down because we're going to get an airport. And isn't this wonderful? I'm going to be able to fly to England at a new international airport. But as we heard from Lisa and as we've heard from Jim, best case scenario, if I'm correct, is number one, it would never be an international airport anyway because there's not enough land anymore. And they'd be colliding with Pearson. Two, whether it's cargo or not cargo, that's not going to give you that flight to where you're going even short haul. And then you've got the other piece of it.
So given what you're hearing, how would council members be at all in favor of still continuing their current position?
I can only tell you from what I know, and I know that Councillor Pickles has publicly said he opposes an airport.
Yes.
I read it on Facebook.
Yes,
I heard him say it.
We saw.
Councillor Butt has said, I will not speak for my colleague because it's not fair for me to.
No.
So I can definitely tell you that I know right now that a majority of council would oppose an airport because they've said they're going to oppose an airport. But that's the only answer I can give you.
Yeah, okay.
The mayor has been very clear. Mayor Ash has been very clear that he supports an airport.
Yes.
The same as the former mayor.
Yes.
I'm not criticizing. I'm not saying But the vision does not appear to be in sync with the majority of council that is openly saying, no, we're not.
Right, who ought to be representatives of their constituents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be true though, even if it wouldn't happen, it wouldn't happen in our lifetimes?
Definitely not happening in
It
our
won't happen in our
lifetime.
lifetime.
There's a definite.
I'll make my deposition about the airport on
Sorry.
Monday night. My question was, we have all these wonderful things happening, like flag raisings. We have people, we had this, coming for sports activities at the rec complex. But there's nothing to tell us that these things are happening until either they've happened or they're in the midst of happening. And all we see are these pictures of the counselors at a flag raising. Oh, look, that happened, Transgender Day, blah, blah, blah. Why aren't we informed as the taxpayers, as the public? I'd like to be at some of these things. Do we not have a community newsletter or something online that says this is happening for the month of April or the month of May or the month of June or whatever, so that we can be involved?
Point well taken, and we do have to find a better way to get information out there.
I mean, you're talking
No,
about.
Jen, not disagreeing. We're standing here, we're agreeing with you.
Please, just put a calendar out every month that said, this is what's happening in the city of Pickering.
You know what, you're right. We get a calendar, and you know what, maybe the same calendar that we get should be posted out there. There's enough social media
Why isn't it?
platforms. Great suggestion.
I personally have had many conversations with the city.
Months ago.
Yeah, and mentioning, like, you know, I said, even myself, I don't even know what's happening half the time if I don't look at my specific calendar. As for, also for, like, you know, for example, the teen dances came back last month. There were only 23 children, I think, that had signed up for it. At preteen, only 23 or 32, I'm not too sure, it's one of those numbers, that signed up. Why? Because they didn't get the information. So I actually sat down with staff last week and I told them that, you know, that the residents are not getting this information. I said a lot of the residents aren't following Let's Talk Pickering. A lot of the residents are not following, you know, the Pickering page. I said a lot of people just aren't on social media, and then you have the people that don't read the newspapers. I said there's got to be a better way. And for example, with the teen dances, I said the way you're going to reach these preteens is to go back and having a piece of paper, take it into the school, gives it to the grade 7 and 8s to take home, because they're not looking at the billboard when their parents are driving underneath the train bridge. They're not following Pickering Talk. So something else needs to be done for the teens. So they're actually now going to do the piece of paper is going to go home in the kid's backpack for the next dance is coming up next month. I think it is on May 24th, I think it is. So, but the same with that, yes, we need to have some kind of a calendar.
I'll help you with it if you want.
What we can
and
do
we
that's
will
real
definitely
easy,
do
something we
like
can
that.
commit to that's real easy. We get a monthly calendar, we'll post our monthly calendar on a JPEG.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got the same social media platforms that we access. We access Joe's, we access Let's Talk Pickering, we access.
I'll post it around on the different platforms.
So what we'll do is, when we get our calendars, sometimes we get them every week.
Send it to me.
Then all we'll do is, we'll JPEG it, and we'll post it, and we'll share it along every social media platform right across, and that's,
And I'll post it on mine too. Okay, sounds
Yep,
good.
that
'Cause
okay?
It really bothers me that all of a sudden we see, it's always the same people standing there. Flag raising.
now before the last group of people leave and you're the diehards,
Yeah.
we do have a couple of
So-
announcements that, you know, maybe if I can do a couple, and then Lisa will flip over to you, is that okay?
Yes.
So
Did I-
I've got-
Did I have announcements to give? I'm not sure, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
then you can think about it if you do have. So the ones
Can
that
I just say one thing real quickly? I don't know if I will be posting the calendar on social media. I'm trying to get a little bit off of having to go to this group, and this group, because I find it really, really hard and difficult for me to do my job if I'm going to be on social media constantly. So what I would like to do is, like, you know, people follow me at Councillor Lisa Robinson on social media, and I will make sure that my council page is updated every day, and that there is a calendar on there for people to go to. I just think that's a lot easier.
Yep.
And then from that, you know, if you want to take it off of there and go ahead and spread it wherever you like, that would be great. But until that time happens, we'll also have more conversations with the staff and see what other ways that we can get all of the information out there to everybody.
So a couple of quick announcements. One is to congratulate the Rougemount Community and Recreation Association. And you guys are here today. And once again, another community group has now been formed as a grassroots community association. They have a constitution, and you're going to be hearing a lot more from them. And maybe you guys want to just stand up and introduce yourselves, and then make sure that our videographer here catches that camera guy.
Let's go, camera guy.
Nobody's going. Anyway, so we have this constitution, we're ready to roll. We're hoping to, we've got 30 members signed up already. And we're going to, with the help of Mr. Brenner, get some flyers printed, and we're going to start canvassing everybody in the community. Oliver was our first member. And so, yeah, that's true. Anyway, so we're ready to roll, and so you'll be hearing a lot more from us, and hopefully we can get some activities going sometime, you know, May. Fingers crossed, okay?
Congratulations, guys. And not that we like the globe, but the fact is we are the only ward in the entire city of Pickering right now that has functioning, active community associations that are grassroots that are out there. There are groups in Ward 3. I mean, there is Claremont, don't get me wrong, and there's other groups that are trying to form, but Ward 1's groups are
Well, we're
quickly,
biased.
well, we are biased,
We're
but they are
biased.
quickly moving. So for anybody that is not yet part of, watch out if you are now the Amberley, Fox Hollow, Steeple Hill, because a community association may be coming to you soon.
Yep, exactly.
Because you're next, and then we have everybody in Ward 1 organized.
Yep.
Not we being us as counselors, we being you as community. A couple of very quick announcements are the Tales of Hope launch party, which is Saturday, April the 29th from 12 to 4 at the Pickering Town Center. And this is the third year. And it's a program that offers a short story contest for kids 5 to 12. And children are asked to create an animal-related story. So this is sponsored by our Animal Services, and it's intended to help engage young kids to share stories about animals and pets. Another exciting is our rabies and microchip clinic, which is Saturday, May the 6th from 11 to 4 at the Recreation Complex. The service is $25 each, so it's $25 for a rabies vaccination and $25 for a microchip. That's cheap by all standards. And that's courtesy of a vet that volunteers their time and works with the city of Pickering. In addition to that, there's our famous Petapalooza.
No, it's
Spring sorry.
First, because we're gonna go in.
Spring First fashion
We're
show.
going Spring
Pet
First.
pop-up. I mean, my God, I mean, we got everything. So the
A lot of pets.
Spring Fashion Show, which is a pet pop-up market at Center Court, Saturday, April the 29th, coming soon. And that's dress up your pet. I bought Bay, who's impressed because of the passing of Riley. She just got a brand new blue denim jacket. Washed denim. And you know what it costs to get these washed denims. But I'm trying to make her cheery, so and I've got her dressed up, ready to go.
And then the next one we have is Petapalooza.
Petapalooza.
Petapalooza is going to be on Saturday, May the 13th between 10 and 4 at Esplanade Park. There's going to be 60 plus exhibitors. There's going to be performances by the
Super Dogs.
Super Dogs this year? Yes, it is.
Sorry, can't see.
And these
pet
are the real
characters.
Super Dogs, by the way.
There's going to be pet characters. That's going to be awesome. Lure course, Barker, Pump It Up Play Gym, and so much more. So that's going to be a fun one. And then for spring 2023.
Moving from
Aging
pets
Well
to older
Together.
adults, now that we're not pets.
Yes, Aging Well Together, 55 plus. Please pick up your spring guide. It's out. Very exciting.
So there is lots happening, and
And
we're
we already
making
mentioned
sure
the
that those that are going to watch this stream, courtesy Joe and Oliver,
Yes.
are going to hear about these events in advance of the events.
Okay, I have one more thing.
And don't forget the preteen dance
I
next
forgot
month.
to mention Hearts and Hands. She sends the
Quilts?
The baby coat up to a reservation in northern Saskatchewan.
Yes.
She is always looking for donations, help, baby bottles, plastic baby bottles. If anybody wants to donate anything, please let me know and I will pass on her information to you. And on that note,
Yeah, she does wonderful work. Parts of the proceeds from my Halloween haunt went to her last year to her organization, where they did a lot of her and the ladies get together and they make quilts and then they send them up to the Indigenous and and then they also collect money so they can get baby bottles and everything else.
Yes.
Great organization, really good.
David Greenville has told me that there are a lot of Indigenous groups just in this area that also need help. So if anybody, I can put you in touch with people just locally that need.
Great.
So. if
Thank you,
anyone's
Janice.
interested, please feel free to contact, Janice Frampton. If anybody wants to donate anything, please let me know and I will put you in contact.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
taking
and
that
that's a
on,
wrap.
Janice.
And
That's
our
amazing.
next town hall
Good.
meeting
Yeah.
is, it's exactly the same week that we
It's the
have this
same week.
scheduled. But what we're trying to wrestle with is, we are planning to hold a town hall meeting at the waterfront and the beach point. You know where you
Going
have
outdoors.
the outdoor section, you have a bunch of the tables and you have the green roof. So we are looking at that. We're not sure if it's going to be May or June, but watch for the information and we'll have it finalized and we'll get it out sooner than later.
May's a bit of a touch and
Surgery at the end of May, so I don't know if I'll be there.
okay. Yeah, May's a little bit of touch and go for weather, so we
So
might
we're not
put that
sure, and
off
that's the
until
problem.
June. Oh, and then there's another question we'd also like to put out there. Council, we break for a couple of the summer
For
months.
July and
For
August.
July and August. So Councillor Brenner and myself, we actually
We want your
wanted to
feedback.
ask
Do you
your
want
feedback.
town halls during the summer or do you want a break? You don't
Yes.
have to tell us tonight.
Yep, but let us know.
Let us know, those that are going to watch this live stream.
Yep.
Let us know.
Yeah, because if we're not going to have anyone turn out in July and August, then we might break too. But if we have a lot of support, then we're going to continue
And Joe's
on
waving
because we're
goodbye.
okay. Bye,
Good night, Joe
everyone. Have a
Paccione.
great night. Thank